I want this to be a short tutorial of how to hunt the entire whitetail rut. And a lot of people think of the rut as just this 7 to 9 days of opportunity when really there's about 3 weeks. The problem is a lot of people don't know when the rut begins, what phase they're in, and how to hunt in each phase. So we're just going to go through this really quick. If you want a huge, more comprehensive approach to hunting the entire rut, check out my rut web class. It's really important to do so. That'll guide you from A to Z and really put you on the roadmap to success for each and every rut going forward. First of all, the pre-rut. This is when I focus on mornings. Again, the pre-rut, I've mentioned this in other videos lately. The pre-rut begins when you see bucks on their feet mid-morning to mid-afternoon. If those giant bucks are on their feet, the rut hasn't begun. Sure, bucks rub and scrape all October long. They pester does. They leave lots of sign. That doesn't mean, and all of a sudden they might be very active at night, but until they're active during the daylight hours, the pre-rut hasn't begun. And that'll happen within a day, 2 days, every single year. We see that happening the 22nd to the 24th every single year in this area. That might be the 1st of November if you're in West Virginia, Kentucky. If you're over into Oklahoma, over into Virginia. If you're in Pennsylvania, that might be the 5th. The 1st, the 28th, somewhere around there. New York might be that 28th time, might be the 25th time frame. But rest assured, by the time you see this, it's happening. So the pre-rut is the time I hit the morning stands. They're not really active all day. In fact, an all-day sit is not appropriate for the pre-rut. It just happens for those first 5, 6, 7 days. You really want to focus on these morning hunt opportunities next to bedding areas. Think bedding, 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 and make sure when you get into your stand, you're not walking through food to get there in the morning because you're just going to spook deer out and ruin your bedding area sit. Try to get on the back side of bedding, the downwind side, and not in the bedding area. You're just hunting that outside edge. The rut lockdown. You know, a lot of times in the pre-rut, mature bucks especially are very active. They're leaving a lot of sign down the ground, and that might be why you're not experiencing the start of the pre-rut, because you don't have a lot of older bucks in your area. That explains why your friend, your buddy 10 miles away says, yeah, it's on, and you're not seeing something. But rest assured, it's already begun, and it starts at the same time every single year. There's been times I've seen people wait till November 8th, and they're saying, well, the rut hasn't started yet. No, they've just missed it. They've missed rutting activity. Warmth suppresses rutting activity, but bottom line, if you don't have older bucks in your area, you're not going to see it. The bucks are ready to breed. The does are not coming into estrus yet. Great weather, cold temperatures, all rut will push bucks to their feet. That's why the roller coaster of opportunity begins with a pre-rut and extends all the way throughout the rut. Because if you have warm days, it'll suppress movement. Bucks and does will still be breeding, but it's going to be after dark. They're still going to breed at the same times. Where you see a lot of daylight activity is when that temperature drops on the back side of the front. Think of deer that have been suppressed because of high winds, thunderstorms, lightning, heat, snowstorms, hail. And then when it breaks and it's during the rut, wow, watch out. They're all over the place. Like I said, these does aren't necessarily ready to breed yet, but those older bucks are ready to actually demonstrate and express rutting activity. But at some point, it's exponential growth. No does, 1 or 2 does, and then all of a sudden a whole bunch of does on that front side of the rut, and then it peaks and then comes back down again. This is that area of the end of the pre-rut that enters into the lockdown phase. It's a time where every buck has a doe. Lots of does are coming into estrus, and that's when they actually go hit them. Don't follow your state agencies, government agencies, for when the rut is coming in, because different states tabulate when the rut actually takes place compared to other states. Even counties in some areas. Look at Georgia. The rut's all over the map down there because they each have their own individual ways of looking at when the rut begins. States like Pennsylvania, for example, don't really look at the second rut. They just look at it all as a primary rut. It's the same rut. And when that takes place, that means the secondary rut, 15 or 20% of does that are actually bred compared to the 70-80% in that first primary rut or peak rut phase, it actually pulls that average date out later into the month of November. So you look at it and say, wow, it's not happening until November 15th or 20th, when really that's about over by that time for the peak rut. The problem is they're tabulating in the second rut, and that pulls back the average date of conception as far as the overall average. You can look at county lines, state lines especially. Where like Kentucky, Ohio can be drastically different just across the state line of when rutting behavior actually takes place. Well, we know the deer don't know about any kind of state line. The problem is that one state tabulates when the rut comes in versus another. Bottom line is, when you see all this activity taking place, you see bucks on their feet between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., you know the pre-rut's begun, and you know that within a few days those does are going to come into heat. That takes place early November around here in southeast Minnesota, southwest Wisconsin. It can seem like it's a ghost town. You have long sits. In that case, I might sit in an all-day stand at that point. You're sitting between food and bedding or on bedding. If I'm sitting bedding, then I want to flip around to food in the afternoon. You're almost following those does like you do in the post rut. But bottom line, it's a long day because bucks aren't necessarily on their feet all day. They're just trying to breed the doe they're with. And again, every buck has a doe, so why would they move around? And if you're hunting in areas with lots of does compared to bucks, because you've overmanaged your property, you have a lot of summer food sources, you have a doe factory, then you're going to see even less movement because there's so many does. Bucks don't need to move very far to find a new one. Folks, it's time for the rut, and that means you need to check out my rut web class. It'll help you navigate the entire rut. But more importantly, QuietKat is one of our important partners, and through that partnership, they've offered to clients, people that contact us, an incredible discount and opportunity to buy a new QuietKat. Look for an email that you can contact and the contact information in the description, but I really want to pass that off to you. We don't do that very often, but I want to make sure you guys don't miss out if you're looking and in the market for a new QuietKat. Peak rut. This is all day quality hunts. You don't know where they're going to be. I like to hunt that perfect X of movement between bedding and feeding. It's kind of interesting. You look at that barbell movement, you look at their bedding area, and you look at that food source. Pre-rut, and sometimes part of the rut lockdown, that movement or bucks is all over the bedding areas. But then they're kind of going straight to food. The difference is in the peak rut, look at they're making lots of movements around that food source. Yeah, they might be moving in between a lot in certain funnel areas. That's where I want to sit, in that perfect X of movement. Look at they're making a lot more movement in the afternoon before dark, and they're making a lot of movement in the morning, and they're moving in between midday. That gives you the opportunity for an all-day sit, not on food and not in a bedding area. That might be 10-15% of your potential stand locations. Most are either at bedding or food source. Post-rut. This is when it's starting to wind down, but the old bucks still know the game is on, and they still know they can move long distances to find does and find a receptive doe. They don't want to give up. Some of those younger bucks have been beat down. They're ready for the rut to begin or to end, and they've been wore out. But those mature bucks have a lot of energy, big bodies, and they're willing to move great distances. This is when some of the most fierce battles take place. Because it's pretty easy during the pre-rut to find a doe. It's pretty easy during the peak rut lockdown, obviously. But when it gets in the post-rut, there's not a lot of does coming into estrus. In Wisconsin, that'd be the 13th, 14th, 16th, 17th of November. Michigan, the same. Some areas of the south, Kansas, that might be the 22nd. 25th. Southern Ohio, I've shot a nice buck the Monday before Thanksgiving. I don't remember if that was the 20th, 21st, sometime around there, but it was chasing does. It was still those last few days of the rut. Follow doe family groups. Go to doe bedding areas in the morning. Go to doe bedding areas in the afternoon for food sources. You don't want to just sit back by a buck bedding area. You're looking for long distance movements, great funnels into either doe bedding areas, between doe bedding areas, or areas in the evening where does are moving to feed. You're looking for trails on the way there that capture that bottom of the funnel of daylight movement, where lots of trails are converging to one to go into a major food source. Maybe there's a water hole there. Maybe there's a mock scrape or something they're hitting. Bottom line is you're looking for bucks that are following does, and that'll guide you to success in the post rut. And then we get to the second rut, which happens about a month after that rut lockdown phase. So if the rut lockdown is the first couple days, few days of November, that means first few days of December is that second rut, and that's when 15-20% of the does are still going to be bred. It's still a significant amount. How do you hunt that? Well, you hunt it just like you would the peak rut. Not every buck's getting a doe at that point, but the older bucks that know the game are laying down a bunch of rubs and scrapes. They all of a sudden open up again. They're moving long distances for does, and that could happen at any movement. I love that X movement. But where I really love hunting is going back to those morning stands in bedding areas, and then looking for those food source stands, really kind of hunting those does again. and hunting like I would in the peak rut, and you don't see a lot of movement during the middle of the day. There's just not a lot of reward for that. The bucks are getting wore down, and you can look in between the post rut, second rut, let's say there's 10 days, couple weeks, there's hardly any movement at all. That's when I focus on hunting afternoon food sources, because those bucks want to replenish. They're just sitting around all day. They don't move much in the morning. But once you get in the second rut, expect great morning movement again. Dylan and I shot a nice buck. He was filming. It was muzzleloader. I think I said I had a few days left of that season, so sometime early December. Jen and I just watched that the other day. She had never seen that, but it's a really cool hunt. If you look up secondary rut success, spell out secondary, you'll find that on YouTube. It was a really cool morning hunt that Dylan and I had. But bottom line, that's the #1 missed opportunity in the whitetail woods each and every year, is that second rut. A lot of people don't believe in it because they look at a state and they just say, well, it's just one big average of all the ruts. But there's a second rut, and then there's also a third rut too. So really pay attention to that second rut. Don't miss out. Again, it's about a month after that rut lockdown / peak rut phase. You can advance that. Like around here, if the rut lockdown is the first few days of November, last day of October, typically, and the peak rut really lasted hard till about the 10th, 11th, 12th. And I'm talking about daylight activity. That's when you see that daylight activity. I think by the time you get to the end of the rut, the bucks are worn out. They're not moving much during the day. They found does that they're going to breed. There's a lot of hunting pressure in the woods, and a lot of bucks get suppressed into more nocturnal rutting activity. So I'm talking about that daylight opportunity. But you kind of look at that rut lockdown, peak rut. So around here might be the last part of October all the way till November 10th, 11th, 12th. And you fast forward a month, and that's that period of the second rut. Don't miss out. This is kind of a snapshot of what to do during all that time. Always hunt the roller coaster of the weather. Look at the rut as a roller coaster of marathon opportunity, not a sprint. You're not just going in for a weekend. And that's why I'd always suggest that instead of taking a week off for rutcation, see if you can take 3 weekends in a row of 4 days off. 1 extra day off, but you get 4 days, 4 days, 4 days. You're spreading out your risk, spreading out your reward. You're limiting the pressure on your stands. You're around your family more, and maybe your job, your boss. You get to be at work a little bit more, but you spread out your opportunity for success, and you get to hunt each phase of the rut, not just the rut, the phase that you happen to take your vacation in, which you might not even know what phase of the rut is at that time. So I want to see you navigate the entire rut. Again, check out the web class if you really want some detailed information on that. I think we have about, what, 13 videos in that? 12 videos, something like that, of detailed information of how to navigate each and every rut. This is a snapshot of it. I know that can help you out. You don't have to buy anything. This will help you out, this information. Have a good time. Boy, it comes fast, goes by fast, and then it's done. We have to wait another 350 days for it to happen again, or 340 days. So don't miss out. Learn how to enjoy and hunt the entire rut, and you'll be a better hunter for it this season and beyond. Now, I appreciate you guys watching the YouTube channel, but I don't know if everyone knows everything that we have to offer, whether it's on whitetailhabitatsolutions.com, our website, or WHS Wildlife Blends, our seed company. Also Instagram you can check out. I'm very active on Instagram, putting strategies on there, photos of what we do every day. Much more active there than Facebook. But our seed, web classes, books, clients, articles. I have over 600 articles on whitetailhabitatsolutions.com, everything whitetail strategy. Of course, we have hats on there, and then make sure to check us out on Instagram again. But lots of stuff to offer. We're always coming out with new things, and this isn't the end of it. We have more things coming soon. Make sure to check us out.